But if we look at our websites, it's not a place where we can put out content we think people are interested in, but we build our website based on how they're searching the internet, then we have a different paradigm on what our website is for.
Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm. Lunch with Norm.
Hey everybody, it's Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. All right, I told you on Friday, this is going to be a good episode. We're going to be talking about content, how to create helpful content that search engines love. What can brands do to better understand searcher intent? Let's try that again. What can brands do to better understand searcher intent? How can brands make content more shareable? And how important is expert reviewed content? Welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Content. Everybody's talking about, very few of us are implementing it properly. So today we're going to talk about how to create helpful content that search engines love. Our guest is a repeat guest, one of my favorite people out there. He is a writer, scientist, professor, and practitioner of search engine optimization. He lives, breathes, and eats SEO. He's the author of SEO Strategy and Skills, while serving as an adjunct professor at UCSD and CSUF. He's also building the Academy of Search while volunteering time to help improve transparency, industry standards as a agency trainer. I'm talking to you about Steve Wiideman. He's going to be on in a second, but first let's hear from a sponsor. This episode is brought to you by ClearAds. Looking to maximize your Amazon ads ROI? Well, whether you need full service or just one or two services, ClearAds Amazon advertising experts drive outstanding results across the Amazon marketplace. With over 9 years of experience, their Amazon PPC managers have helped thousands of companies to drive down their cost of sales and scale up their revenue, profits, and orders. And with their unrivaled Amazon DSP expertise, ClearAds DSP services are tailored to your brand. You really can't go wrong. Get in touch today with ClearAds' dedicated team by visiting the link in the description or visiting clearads.co.uk. And remember, more sales, better ROI, incredible growth. Check out ClearAds today. Okay, welcome, Steve Wiideman. How are you, sir?
Oh my God, Norm, this is amazing. It's so funny that you mentioned content because we're actually creating content right now. And Kelsey's talking about how he's got a video editor to help create more content. It's like I'm living in this meta podcast today. I'm not really sure, if I'm in Inception and Leonardo DiCaprio is going to come grab me or what's going on. But, we're talking about content while we're creating content and discussing a new way to add additional content to the content we're already creating. Like, what's going on?
It's hurting. I'm old and now my brain hurts.
Thank you. Right. I have some empathy. Well, I'm excited and I'm definitely honored to hang out with you again. And I mentioned before the show, I'm doing some work with folks like Martha Stewart, and we're working with a lot of e-com sites that have struggles with trying to figure out how they drive more customers to their site from search, and two, how they increase their long-term search by getting other websites to want to link and share. So today I hope we get to hit all those different attributes that play into drawing in customers and attracting links and hopefully just growing our online e-commerce business.
This is the third time you've been on the podcast, and every time we make notes. And one of the crazy things first of all, you were talking about metadata before, and we were, okay, what are you going to do? How can you change it? And I thought it was useless. I thought, it's kind of useless nowadays. And you showed me a technique that you were using, I think, for Skechers that doubled their sales pretty much like that. And then you said, well, we also doubled or tripled IHOP's sales by just changing around this and this.
Adding a button.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my gosh. And it's so outside of the box. Well, it's so simple, but
Yeah.
it was incredible what you could do. So I am so excited about listening to you today talk about content, because I know Kelsey and we got Mary. I actually do. I am not kidding you, Steve. I have Mary, one of our contractors, or she's an employee. She is going to be making notes on this. So she's sitting there waiting to hear what you're going to say, so I
Awesome.
can see your notes at the end of this podcast. That's how excited I am.
I'm excited too. This is always fun to talk about search and talk about content and some tricks and techniques that are fun to test. And not everything works for every brand. I mean, the brand itself, has customers who are expecting a certain way of interacting. So this will be interesting to kind of go through, kind of hopefully from a beginning to end standpoint on how we create great content.
Yeah, and let's start let's go backwards, backwards.
Hmm.
Why do people not create content? We're hearing it all the time. Content, content, content. It'll help. But why are people holding off on creating content?
Sure. I think part of it is an education piece, right? They've never been through the process of creating really rich content to see what it can drive in terms of organic traffic, um, and how to do it, right? The why part, number one, right? Like you said, they're not really sure why they need it, and then two, the how part. Um, I think when I had one client not too long ago who we did a full kind of sitemap plan for, and she was in the financial industry, and we said, okay, we've completed your entire roadmap for search. Here are the technical items to focus on. Here are where you want to go to get links that are going to drive traffic and boost your SEO. And here's a list of content that your customers are searching for that your competitors have answers to that you could probably answer better because you're one of the best at what you do. She looks at the list. She says, there's no way I'm going to do this. I'm like, why not? And she's like, it's way too much work. I don't want anyone else to write this because I know it wouldn't be written the way that I would write it because I know the industry and I'm an expert. So I'm just never going to do this. And I went, wow, it's the first time in a long time someone's actually admitted to not doing the content roadmap. Normally, growing up in search, I would give a big spreadsheet to my clients. And I said, here's all the keywords that could drive traffic for you. Give me a page on these. I'll put them on your website. I'll optimize them and you'll appear, for those keywords or, the semantic derivatives of them. And, I think it was about 50% of the time I never got anything back. So ergo, the content wheelhouses of the world now to help produce and create some of that content. But yeah, so I think that's why some folks just won't do it. They don't have the knowledge to do it. And then when they find out what they need to do, they're just like, yeah, that's way too much. I don't have the time, the resources. I just don't want to do it.
I'm going to go down a different rabbit hole for a sec. I get a lot of people asking me, should I use, and we have great relationship with Phrase, but should I use artificial intelligence to write my information or my content? So Jasper or Phrase or Word or whatever. What do you think about that?
I think it's fun. I think it's exciting. I think it's neat to draw inspiration from some of these tools. I think some of them write better titles and headings than I might. I know Google in their latest helpful content update made it very clear that they don't want you creating automated content, especially at scale, right? Because if I say, hey, if I can create 200 pages of content, I know recently somebody wrote a book with Jasper. I thought that was really interesting. But if I can create all that content, I could appear for all of those different keywords. The problem with that is that you're having robots write an entire page of content, which means in many ways it's going to be almost too perfect for search engines and not so perfect, I think, for humans who are looking for, a brand voice, a narrative. If they're looking for a certain writing style and it's inconsistent between the different pages that you're reading, you're like me, you follow a lot of blog posts. If all of a sudden one of your favorite bloggers writes a page that just doesn't have the same personality and voice and references, you're like, this kind of feels like it was created by maybe a robot, right? It's there, the content's there, and there's a lot of good points in it, but I don't feel the emotion of it. So I think it's fun to explore and to draw inspiration from, maybe even start a paragraph at a time and then rewrite some of it with your brand voice. I think they're great tools. I wouldn't suggest not playing with them because I enjoy playing with them. But I would be very careful and cautious of making that your process. Don't make your content creation MO load up a bunch of keywords in Jasper and request 200 pages at once and load them up. I think that could cause some trouble, and it doesn't look natural. And I think search engines gonna kind of figure that out. Like, how is it that this site has 0 punctuation, grammar, or typos or brevity? How is that possible that every single page is perfect? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, when we're doing something like we do use both of the phrase and Jasper,
Uh-huh.
and we'll go through.
Formerly Jarvis.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it used to be Jarvis. Now it's Jasper, right? I think I got it. But anyways, we'll go through and we'll get the summary of what we're looking for. So we help the researcher. And so we'll build out the information and the bullet points, but also I think it's phrase has the mind map. It's like answer the public, where
Uh-huh.
instead of just giving you all these content like here, who, what, where, why with your search terms, it'll do that, but it'll give you the number one blog article in that for that piece. And so the researcher can go in and pick apart the information that we want to copy.
Mhm.
So or not copy.
The topics we want to include in our page.
Exactly. So
We don't.
it's so easy. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love experimenting with all the different new tools, and a lot of it's not even AI. A lot of it's just rules and logic that was created based on algorithms, right? That they say that, oh, it's AI copywriting services, but I kind of feel like when I test words and I test topics I want to write about, it's semi-predictable, and I can reverse engineer it just enough to know that there's a lot of rules that are built in to help create it. But you have to wonder if there are 1,000 marketers right now and they all want to rank their category page for winter puffer jackets, and they type in winter puffer jackets, 1,000 of them all at the same time into Jasper. Right? How similar are the results going to be between those 1,000 people who are punching in the same thing into a software that's using basically the same algorithm? When does it become too much? And if we're all using the same tools, where's the creativity and the uniqueness? And I feel like it all dies. So, like I said, I think they're great for drawing inspiration. Just if you're using them, put your brand voice on it and rework titles, headings, descriptions, and paragraphs, to follow in, to be on brand for who you are as a company.
Well, last time you were on, you were talking to us about. I asked a question about a blog format, and we started changing that. So we launched a brand. It's the soap
Awesome.
brand, and we had somebody who was building out a funnel for us come back and say, "How are you getting all this traffic? Like, you've just launched. How are you getting all this? You're like a high domain authority,
Yeah.
and we're getting like thousands of unique visitors every month, and it's all because of one thing. It's still beta. Like, our site's still beta, but we put up all this content, high quality, well-written content, the way that you laid it out the last time.
Uh-huh.
And that's all we've done." And she was shocked. Like, Kelsey can come on. She said, "There's no site that gets this amount of traffic. What are you doing?" Content.
Yeah.
So anyways, I thought I'd just say that again,
That's
going back
amazing.
to what we were talking about the last time.
Uh-huh.
But let's talk about, let's get into this topic again today. What can
Sure.
brands do to better understand the searcher intent?
I love that. And just kind of taking even one more step back, if we look at our websites, and I think we might have talked about this before, but if we look at our websites, it's not a place where we can put out content we think people are interested in, but we build our website based on how they're searching the internet, then we have a different paradigm on what our website is for. And I think the biggest challenge, and I know we discussed keyword research before, but the biggest challenge I think businesses have is taking the time to take all of those different ways that people are searching and organizing that into a sitemap for their website. Instead, they just think, okay, home, products, resources. It's just the same bland way of pushing out what you think you need to do because you've seen it on other websites, instead of just really putting that exhaustive or extensive sitemap together so that we talked about the spiral staircase company. Right? I love that example because, and I'm happy to share an example of what a site taxonomy or sitemap looks like from that stairway brand. When we took, I think we took 6 different competitors, we filtered out all their brand names, and we focused on all of the keywords that they're getting traffic from. Now, the spiral staircase company only had 10 pages of 10 different products that were fabricated spiral staircases. They didn't have any other actual content. So by pulling all of those different keywords in, we started to really understand where the content opportunity was. We said, this is an adjective, this is a noun, these are all use types. So stairways, basement stairways, deck stairways, staircases, library staircases, these are all use types. Wow, they're typing steel and glass and these are materials. Let's create a section for materials and have a stainless steel spiral staircase and have pictures of this staircases here. What's another one that we found in there was kits. People were looking for parts and replacement things. Like, oh wow, this is a whole nother section. You do sell these, but you just have it in a subcategory somewhere instead of actually organizing content for it. So when we were done, we had all of these different new navigational elements that address the different ways that people were searching. And it was great because now we created some 200 or 300 pages, no matter how somebody was searching for what we did. And it basically created a need to redo the entire navigation based on those top categories. Another brand you might be familiar with is Jacuzzi, right? And we were helping them with kind of coming up with a site taxonomy or a content game plan or roadmap based on how people were searching for hot tubs. And they were searching for 2-seater hot tubs, 5-seater hot tubs under $5,000, outdoor, indoor, exterior, right? Backyard. These are all the different ways that people were searching. Some of them related where we didn't need a separate page. We just needed to emphasize that other way that they were searching in a different part of that document. And so you can kind of take a look at Jacuzzi today, because I think they took a lot of inspiration from what we'd put together, even though they didn't. Most clients don't do every single thing because it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, now the site and the navigation is inspired by how people search the net, not by how the CEO wants to publish content on the internet. And I think that approach is like a mind-blowing kind of digital marketing element. If you can get in that mindset of, are people searching this? Do I need it on my website? Because if they're not searching for this and it's not helpful and it's not part of what's driving customers or attracting links, maybe I don't need it. Maybe it's not very helpful. Maybe I can take this piece and just add it as a component to some of my pages, as opposed to having a separate page for things that people just aren't searching the internet for. Anyway.
So interesting that you said this, because we were looking at one of our blog articles, and it drove 1,200 people. We noticed that this one search phrase on this article, 1,200 people, and all of us, and that was in a month. And what we did, we went back and we looked at it and we said, all right, if it's, I'm just using this as an example, olive oil soap.
Okay.
We don't have a collection on our website that if people want to click on that article because they were looking for olive oil soap, we don't have the ability to click anywhere to go to an olive oil soap collection.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not doing anything to drive the sale. We have the content. Content was great, but we got zero ROI on the content. And so we just created an olive oil collection. Now, every soap has olive oil, but we took like 10 soaps and there's your collection now. And now we've got a call to action at the end of the blog. And there's a pop-up that goes when you try to escape for your olive oil soap. So it's just a couple of little things that we're doing to try to get people to buy the product. And content's great. Get people to the site, but if they don't have anywhere to click or go to, then it's strictly just content and you're getting traffic, but no ROI.
Oh my God, 2005, right? We would go to text link brokers or we'd outsource to anywhere in the world that we could to just write an article. You want to appear for a keyword? Write an article. And and I got so angry at the word article at some point that I almost refused to use it for probably, I don't know, 10 years of my career. I said, we're not doing articles. What's the intent, right, of the user who's performing this query? And let's decide, if this is going to be an informational or transactional page, right? Is this somebody who's actually looking for a product and we're giving them an article, like you were saying? So many times I've seen that, and so many times, and we might have mentioned this in the last podcast where we were talking about Belkin and Linksys, right? And they have these wireless routers, and they said, Linksys, wouldn't it be great if we ranked #1 for the keyword wireless router? Like, yeah, that would be a great product category. Like, well, kind of, but I think the word wireless router by itself might be a little too broad for a product category, or maybe a product category alone. Let's ask some people. So we went out to Amazon Mechanical Turk. We asked 2,000 people for 5 cents each, right, in the US with specific, demographic targeting. We asked them for 5 cents, what would you be searching for if you did a search in a search engine for wireless router, right? What's your intent? What are you trying to accomplish? And yeah, about half of them came back and said, yeah, I want to buy a wireless router, but only half. That means the other half of the people aren't going to click your listing when they perform a search if you're providing a product category. And what's Google or other search engines going to think if 50% of the people really aren't looking for that particular intent? It goes back to Google's Hummingbird update and them talking about things, not strings, right? So we came back and we said, here's what we need to do. If you want to rank for the term wireless router, you need to have some comparisons. You need to have a section on the page that goes to a whole section of your website about wireless routers, what they are, how they work. You want to have the top, greatest, best, fastest one right clear at the top. So now, yes, we've got our top fastest, we've got compare, we've got learn more about routers, right? Because that's what some people who are performing that broad search are looking for. And it worked. And so we kind of put that whole mock-up together and we said, this is what's going to solve for all of these different needs that people have when they're performing a search. So I think sometimes it's worth the time, depending on the category, to ask. I know if somebody's searching for a winter puffer jacket, that they're most likely looking to buy a winter puffer jacket. They don't want to know what it is, right? There's no technology behind it like there is a wireless router. So you could assume that creating a product collection or a category is probably the most appropriate for that. But if they typed in something like how are puffer jackets made, and you send them to a puffer jacket category, through optimization and interlinking and all the SEOing you do to get that page to rank, you're probably not solving for what their intent is. Their intent isn't to make a purchase, but instead to understand what goes into the material of them. And that's where that supportive content underneath your puffer jacket category is going to come into play to create more helpful content, so that when people are searching with the intent of buying a puffer jacket, that Google's going to assume you have the most helpful content. Because not only do you have a category, but you've got all this supportive pages, the what, where, how much, compared to, the versus, the deals, the who wears them, the washing and material cleaning kind of questions that they have, the FAQs. So having all of that type of supportive, helpful content in a silo underneath that really competitive category of puffer jacket is going to give you the competitive advantage in a year from now, when Google's figured out that you're the most helpful result based on the amount of supportive content you have. And that's where it gets overwhelming. And that's where a lot of people who are listening are going to be like, that sounds like a lot of work. But when you look at some of these sites, Martha Stewart and Bob's Watches, and you're like, wow, this one category alone brings in millions of dollars a month, and augmented with a paid search strategy and a little bit of marketing automation and remarketing and all of the different ways that we can get people back to this page and get them there the first time. This page is worth so much revenue. Is it worth it to spend $1,000 to create a great page, or $10,000 to create 10 of them? When you look back at $1 million product category per month, every example that I've seen has shown that it's worth it. But like you mentioned, it's a lot of work and it feels overwhelming.
Right, right. So we are getting down to the bottom of the hour. So first of all, anybody who's got any questions or comments, questions like no matter if it's rookie, newbie, you're just getting into this, or you're an advanced seller who does tons of content, send us the information. We got the right guy on the podcast today. So, questions over to Steve. We'll get to them all at the end of the podcast. The other thing is, we've got an incredible giveaway. And like always, to get the giveaway or to enter for the giveaway, it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people, and you'll get a second entry. Steve, what's the giveaway today?
We're actually going to be reviewing a website for one of your listeners. And that means our best of what we do, from technology to content opportunities to what they could be doing off the website, where their competition are earning visibility that might be supporting SEO. So we're going to put a whole site review together for one listener.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So you're getting it from the right guy, the right company. So it's invaluable. Whoever wins this, we should, Kelsey, can you put 2 entries in for us? Just to, so we get a chance. Anyway, let's have a word from our sponsor, then we'll come back to Steve. A big thank you to our sponsor, Post Purchase Pro, the only complete A to Z done for you real email and text marketing service built specifically for Amazon sellers. Post Purchase Pro creates all of your digital assets 100% for you, from marketing inserts, complete sales funnels, email follow-up sequences, and weekly email promotions. They manage and optimize everything for you to drive more sales, get higher ranking, and receive more reviews on Amazon. So check out Post Purchase Pro now to see if you too will see enormous growth like their nearly 500 clients worldwide. That's Post Purchase Pro at postpurchasepro.com/lunch. Okay, one of the questions I had, and I think we might have talked about it on one of the podcasts before, but let's say you have a product page, or even on your homepage, is it worth putting a snippet? So as you were talking about the who, what, when, why, and you've got a snippet, which if they hit the plus button, it'll drop down and they
Sure.
can either see more information or it'll direct them over to their blog. What do you think about that strategy?
I think it's changed quite a bit. I think the opinions of it, the feedback from Google has changed quite a bit. The idea of, the user has to take action to see the content, or it's not necessarily hidden content, right? Because they can get to it, they can click and see, but if it's not immediately viewable for the visitor, Google's kind of gone back and forth. Before the big 2014 mobile updates that were happening, they said, anything that's kind of hidden behind a tab or a accordion is going to be counted a little bit differently. And then they rolled out all these updates and they realized, hey, it's kind of a bad user experience for a user to have to scroll forever and ever and ever on their mobile device, to be able to see all that content. It's not a good user experience. So they said, yeah, we're not going to treat it any differently. And then people went back to, burying things and using JavaScript, and a lot of black hat SEOs were getting creative on ways that they could not have to show their content. And now Google's gone back to, yeah, we prefer everything be viewable for the user, and we're going to devalue content a little bit. So if you've got your best top keywords and subheadings that are behind an accordion or a tab, it's probably not going to get counted the same way that it would if it were viewable without having to click on it. I think that's important and again, you're talking about product detail pages. So we're looking at product descriptions and product videos and product reviews, all of those tabs that go into, the product page itself. So I would take a look. This is an easy approach. I would take a look at the competition, right, for the keywords that you're trying to get your product page to appear for. Look at the top 10 listings that appear in search results on a mobile device, perhaps an iPhone 12 or 13, right? Take a look and get an idea of what they're doing. Who's number one and what's their approach? Who's number two? What's their approach? And then run some tests. Just basically take one of your product categories that maybe doesn't perform as well as others, and roll out either the accordion tab version or another approach based on what you learned, and see how your users respond. Maybe run one test every month to see how you might be able to add attributes that the competition's using, and see if your users like that same content or not. It might just be an anomaly, or it might be something that really is helpful for your customers. But you don't have to reinvent the wheel and try to figure it out on your own. You just go to the search results and you see what users are already responding to, because Google's displaying listings based on what users are responding to, what they like, what's helpful. So I think that would be the easiest approach. And if you're still unsure, you could do some collaborating in social media groups and Facebook groups and Twitter groups, and just ask and say, hey, SEOs, or even in Quora, right, what's your opinion on this versus this? And you'll get a lot of feedback from folks that have been in the industry a while.
Very good. Okay, so let's get you won't believe this, Steve. So yep.
Sorry, is that your audio? Steve, are you hearing a buzzing?
I'm hearing a buzzing, but I don't think it's mine.
Norm, can you pause your audio or mute it for just a sec? Yeah, I think it's Norm. So Norm, I think either your mic. Oh, I'm gonna pause it again. All right, I muted him. I think the audio, the audio outlet maybe have come loose or something. Yeah.
Is that better?
So, yes, it's much better.
I was about to ad-lib you. You started talking and we didn't hear you, and I was like, Mr. Wiideman has a really nice beard growing in right now.
Yeah.
Well, Norm, thank you. I really appreciate the
It is awesome, by the way.
It's just a start. We'll see. I'll see if I can pull it off or not.
December 1st is the outcome.
That's the date.
That's the date. Okay, so the next question is, how can brands make content more shareable?
That's a great one. And this goes into intent, right? If most people don't usually link to a category page, right? It's just not something they're doing. They're shopping, they're navigating. They don't say, hey, I got to share this page with everybody, because it's where they're going to purchase a product. But the shareable informational content, the supportive, helpful content we were talking about, can be shareable. In fact, there's almost an outline that you could build as you're going through and creating this type of content. I think the first thing, of course, is making sure that you've written really strong titles and descriptions that appear in search results. And we talked about this before. If you do a search for title tag principles, somewhere at the top of the search results is my little page that goes through what those principles are. And that includes a call to action, the keyword you want to rank for, and a unique selling proposition, so that your listing is more clickable, right? Because that could play a role in them actually ending up on your page and hopefully staying there, which is the ultimate user behavior signal for keyword rankings. So the next is going to be your headings. Are you just shoving a keyword in that heading, so when they get to the page, they see the keyword they searched? Or are you writing something compelling that will get them interested and fascinated? Because you got about less than 2 seconds to get their attention before they go back to the search results and kind of pogo stick around. So creating a really compelling headline, maybe using the second most search keyword in the keyword research that you found for that page. Then I would start with maybe a summary paragraph. And if you really want to get creative, and I've seen very few sites that have actually implemented this, I've always recommended it, is a copy to clipboard next to your 375 character summary at the top. If you can do this, if you can create this little copy to clipboard and share as much as you'd like to, and you've got your, when it's shared, it shares the, perhaps the subheading or the heading, and then that short summary. What's going to happen is that's going to end up as a featured answer eventually, because Google's going to crawl the web and it's going to see that heading or subheading, and it's going to see that paragraph all across the web and start to assume or infer that maybe that's the best answer. Now, what's neat about getting that featured snippet, that position 0, is that from the data that we've seen, that makes up for 70% of voice searches. So as more people are buying the new Google Homes and Alexas and Echoes and so forth, and using Siris and Cortanas and what have you, that the results are going to be inspired by the featured answers of that position 0 from their databases. So getting that short summary in there is key, is one of the attributes. As you keep going down the list, the next is going to be a short table of contents. And maybe your little table of contents has keyword-rich links that jump down to different sections of the page. And then you start writing your content with headings and subheadings and lists, and you use images, not just img001.jpg, but keyword.jpg, and you describe what that image is using alt tags. If it's a link where they're going to go somewhere else, use a title attribute on that image so that the user knows where they're going to be taken, and the search engine has a little bit of a clue of what keyword the page that link is going to take you to is all about. You continue going down that list in your template, and next is going to be your video, right? You want to make sure you've got some sort of video if you can do it, because people are consuming content so differently, and it's not just about having one result in Google. And if we have a video and you perform a search, now our page has a blue link and black text. It's got an image in the image carousel. It's got a video in the video carousel. Or if maybe Google figures out people who are doing certain searches prefer video, our little video from that page is going to be right at the top, and it's not going to be youtube.com. It's going to be our page with our video right next to it, giving us a much more rich result and more ways that people can find our content based on the universal results that Google's displaying. Next, I would say is to think about the type of results that we want to appear in Google. When we look at the results, is it just blue links and black text? Do we see some that have questions and answers? Do we see some with stars? Do we see some, perhaps with other attributes like event dates and so forth? What shows up, on search results where we could run some tests of our own and put in frequently asked questions, put in review ratings and reviews if it's something where maybe perhaps we're reviewing a product or something. Think about the different ways that we can, and there's a gallery for this. You can actually do a search for a Google rich result gallery, and you can see all the different ways that you can test how your result appears and what types of content that you could use. And as I mentioned before, test one a month, try different things and see what users respond to. All sorts of new types of ways to do this. Now, the last thing I think is probably one of the most important in 2023 coming up here is thinking about this whole idea of knowledge graph. It's been out for a while. I mean, it's almost 9 years now that people have been talking about knowledge graph and entities. And Dixon Jones has this whole book that he's written specifically on entities. Bill Hartzer has some great content on this. Bill Slawski was one of my heroes who passed away this year. Just did a lot of study of Google patents on entities. So if we can understand a bit of what topics and subtopics are interesting to people who are searching for what we're offering, which again is really easy. You can go out to the search results and you can look at the top 10 results for the keyword you want to appear for and scrape the titles and headings and subheadings from those competing pages to help and aggregate that information and help build your outline for the content that you want to have on your website. Now, you're not out in left field when you're like, hey, I'm going to write a page and hope it's going to rank, when the top 10 pages all include 3 similar topics on their pages. So if we don't have that similar topic, there's less likelihood of our page, being qualified to or even ranking for the keyword we really wanted to appear for. So taking the time to do that. Now, I've seen a few tools that can do this. The best one that I've seen that does it really well is a tool called Market Brew. And Market Brew it's a very, very complex, very amazing platform. Scott Stauffer has been on my own podcast a few times talking about his product, and it literally goes out to the search results and it scrapes what appears, and then it starts to build up kind of a topic outline for you, and then it gives you percentages of how similar in topics and entities you are to the competing pages. Not similar in terms of the content and what you're writing, similar in terms of the topics that are being mentioned on those pages. So if we can think about that and we can create a knowledge graph for it, so that each of those entities very explicitly tells the search engine what a word is. So instead of just saying, okay, in my H2 tag, my subheading, I'm going to write compare wireless routers because I see that being used on other pages, and I'll create some stuff on compare. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the word wireless router and we're going to make that an entity and tell the search engines that this is wikipedia.org/wireless router. Now it knows very clearly that this word that you used on the page is about wireless router. And we used compare. Well, compare isn't really the topic that we want to appear for. It's the wireless router. Compare is a mention. So we'll use mentions compare, and we'll do Wikipedia compare. And you could probably do this 10, 20 times on your page to make it very clear to the search engines when we use a word what that thing means. And thing is the actual item type. It's schema.org/thing. So there's a lot more that we can do beyond just our outlining of having the short answer, having the table of contents to those sections so we get those jump to links and pay attention to Google's passages update. There's more that we can do in the code to be very specific to search engines about what our content is, what it's about, what it mentions, so that we can fall in alignment with their database of words and entities and make it very clear what we're about. So that's where it gets really fun, and a lot of the testing comes into play with all those great structured data testing tools that are out there to goof around with. The one thing we didn't talk about, though, with content beyond just the words and the meanings and the intents of the user and making it clear to the search engines is the technology piece. And this gets really challenging, Norm, because we talked about video and images. Those can really hog up the time it takes for somebody to load that page of content. And Google is really pushing us now on something they call page experience. And we're sort of being extortioned by third-party tools to use their tools to get our pages to perform fast enough to meet those page experience guidelines. We're having to pay for content delivery networks and CDNs. We're having to pay for WordPress tools for you WooCommerce folks like NitroPack, right? We're having to pay third-party tools to be able to get our pages to load as quickly as we want. But we can spend some time and work with our developers to figure out ways that we can load some content a little bit later. Do we really need all of the scripts that we're loading on our page to load the moment the page loads, or can we delay them a few seconds so that the page can load to the user immediately, and then a few seconds later add some of those tracking pixels, those tracking tags? Can we lazy load our images that are below the fold so that everything the user sees on their mobile device, which, as you know, makes up for at least 60-70% of your users, in some industries like restaurant chains, 84%. So everything that they need to see is right there, crystal clear above the fold. And what they don't see happening is below the fold, those other images and assets and videos slowly loading their way in. So there's a lot of things that we can do on the technology side to make sure that we've paid attention to Google's core web vitals within their page experience update. There's a lot of things that we can do that could help users get the content they need quickly and the content that we need from them a little bit later on. So I think those are those different attributes. We talked about content and the different attributes of what goes into the template or the framework of your upper funnel link attracting page, and some ways to get people to share with that cool little copy to clipboard icon next to your short answer. We talked about the technology need and the user behavior signals of getting them to want to click by using some really rich results. And I think the only other thing that we might have missed is the expert review piece of it to satisfy a little bit of these expertise, authority, trust signals. The knowledge graph will do a little bit of that, but I think if you can get an expert, a true doctor, if you're selling a medical product, or a product fashion expert, if you're selling clothing, to give you feedback on your product and your page and what you're saying, and you use the reviewed by as part of the schema.org to tell the search engines, hey, we had a professional who's trained in this area review this page and give us a product review that now has a star rating that shows up in the search results and isn't just a blue link and black text. So our user behavior signal kicks into gear, but it's also an EAT signal for customers who visit that webpage. Normally your mic is goofing out again a little bit.
I muted him for the time being.
No worries. So yeah, that's all I was trying to get. That last piece was really just, if we can get that expert review in there, then we've given some social proof to our customer. We have a higher likelihood of converting that customer or that visitor into a customer. And we've told the search engines that this has been expert reviewed, so they can kind of draw an inference that maybe this page is trustworthy because we've made it clear what the entities are and we've had a professional review it. So anyway, that's my take on how to create a really good upper funnel page of content to draw in links, build brand awareness, and maybe even as a starting point to do some remarketing to bring them back to a product page later on.
Okay, awesome. And let's see, Norm, how is your mic?
I think it's okay, but this is a great
Okay.
way for me not to have to talk at all. Just Steve, you can come on and I'll just sit back, relax, smile and wave.
I feel like I'm talking too much.
No, it's perfect. And this is, one of the things, just listening to Steve talk about all of this. And if you haven't entered the contest today, you're missing out. Because for anybody who's interested in improving or getting into content or understanding your website even better, you're going to miss out on an incredible, priceless giveaway today that Steve and his company is going to go through your website. So I guess the last thing, if we could just quickly go through it, because we did touch on all of this, but I'm kind of curious about, okay, that format of the actual article or blog article. So you've got that piece out there, but there's all sorts of other types of content out there. You want to get into that?
Of course. And we mentioned the universal search results. You perform a query now. You don't just get blue links and black text. You get images, you get product listings, you get videos, you get people also asked. There's so many other types of results that your website could get more saturation in the search results for with a little bit of research and figuring out what is it Google wants to display to users for some of these different search terms. Don't just punch in the top keyword. Take up a variety of them from your keyword research of the same group with the same user intent and perform some different searches to see exactly what types of results appear, and then ask yourself, can I create something better? And if I can, once I've created that something better, can I work with my network of affiliates and associates and vendors to get them to be part of the sharing process, so that Google recognizes that my content's the most helpful because other websites are sharing it, curating it, mentioning it, referencing it, putting it in additional resources and reading, maybe throwing out a shout out in a blog post to it. If you have those relationships, with similar verticals and vendors and partners that you work with, collaborate a little bit and build yourself a kind of a micro, what's the word I want to use, tribe of folks that can help in the sharing process. So it's not just, when a user gets to the page, they're one of many people over time that are going to help the page to rank, but instead immediately get those other partner sites to start sharing and promoting it for you, so that it amplifies the content itself and expedites how quickly you start to appear in search results, because now you've got those votes, from that third SEO signal, the relevancy being number one, the popularity, visibility off your website being number two, and user behavior signals. Now they click and interact and ultimately stay on your webpage as that user behavior signal.
Very good. We've got a bunch of questions that have come in, and if you do have any questions, please post them in the comments section. But Kelsey, can we get to some of those, please?
Yeah, before I do, just want a reminder to our listeners, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And yeah, let's jump into some of these questions. First one is from Tony. Turns out I have a ton of 404 errors on my site due to discontinued products. What is the fastest way to fix this?
Well, it depends. If you have links, that's such a cliche thing for me to say, huh? It depends. If you have links going to those pages, then I would consider redirecting them to the top level category. If you don't have any links pointing to them, then just let them die. And I know in the past, Matt Cutts, who's no longer with Google, talked about 404s on products over time. If that product's not going to come back, let it die. If it is, if you're pretty sure it's not just a seasonal fashion item like a type of puffer jacket, then leave the page up. And what you do is you put a little opt-in that says, hey, we're out right now, but be the first to know when we're back in. Put in your email, join our opt-in list, and make sure you put them into the right list so that they are the ones that get notified when that product's available again. Bob's Watches does this with their wait list. If you see some of their products, it'll be waitlisted because it's a really popular product. They just don't have any in stock right now. So rather than 404 the page, they keep it up and they create a wait list for it. And then what will happen in their product categories is they'll have all the live items that are in stock, and then below they'll have the wait list items, so you have more variety of things to choose from if, again, these products aren't coming back. And if they aren't coming back, then use a tool like Ahrefs or SEMrush to make sure there aren't any links to the page, and then just let them die. And your system should do its own removal of internal links, unless you found in doing a crawl, use a tool like Ryte, RYTE, do a crawl of your website, and if you see any internal links maybe coming from a blog post of your own that you own, not just an inbound link, but an internal link, then just update that or remove it so that it goes away, and then the 404 should just disappear forever. As long as there's no links pointing to that page, there's no way for Google to find it. And eventually it's just going to disappear from the search results when they realize, hey, this product's not around anymore. But yeah, it's a tough one for products, is what do? Do we do a wait list? Do we try to kind of trick users into thinking it's still live? And I would say no. I would say just keep it simple. Let them die. Clean up your internal links maybe once a month or once a week. Have somebody on your team do that crawl through Ryte and look at the inbound links through Ahrefs and SEMrush. Do a little bit of link cleanup. It is kind of a tedious thing to do, but in doing that, you've orphaned that URL, and eventually it'll just disappear.
Okay, next question.
Okay, this one is from Coolhand99.
Cool.
I know I know blogs on a site can help with SEO, but what exactly is it about a blog that is helping the algorithms find it? Is it the title, the body, the photos, the names, all of the above?
Sure, that's kind of a two-part question. I like to use blogs for news and updates, and if you read some of my old ebooks from like the 2000s, we use blogs as a sort of an SEO hack because they have an RSS feed attached to them. And there are websites out there that will take your RSS feed and syndicate your content. And if some of those websites consume HTML, that means all the links that you have in that content become backlinks to your website, which is why so many people back in the early days of SEO used blogs and a technique called blog and ping, P-I-N-G, as an SEO method to get traffic to their site. I know, I did it myself. But the reality is these syndication sites now aren't syndicating the HTML part of it with links. And if they are, those links have a no follow attribute now and don't pass any page rank. So one of the reasons that blogs, again, have been historically part of SEO is that the whole idea of RSS. So I've changed from that in that, I know that those links aren't going to be as helpful. The curation of my content through syndication is going to get filtered into the omitted search results of Google and not really count anymore. So now I'm going to take my best evergreen content that I have on my blog, and I'm going to move it to a page underneath a parent page that I'm trying to rank a tough keyword for. So if I'm trying to rank for puffer jackets, because we've used that example, and I've got an article on how, what, when, how, why, I'm going to nest that as a page, a supportive page of content underneath that category. Now, that doesn't mean during the fall season that I'm not going to say fall puffer jackets are in and do a blog post about that, because that's seasonal news type content. That's good for the next couple months, and it's relevant to users right now. It's not a sales page that's going to make somebody unsubscribe from your blog if they're subscribing. There are still people who use blog feeds, and I'm sure you're seeing a lot of content in Google Discover if you're on an Android device like a Pixel. So I think it's really important to still have blog posts. But if there's an evergreen element to a post, then you've got that whole kind of duplicate content challenge to work through, since you want that to be helpful content underneath the right silo. So you take that blog post, if it is going to be an evergreen page because you really want to share it, and just make sure there's a canonical tag so that Google knows which version of that URL to put in their index and which one to display in RSS feeds and Discover and so forth. So I think the elements that search engines look for, of course, are going to be the title and the heading and the descriptions, of course, are what users are going to respond to in search. I think the image attributes play a big role thanks to services like Discover and thumbnails in RSS feeds. So having a unique non-stock image, one that you created or had created for you, can play a big part of it. Just like Kelsey's creating video content for Lunch with Norm now, not just grabbing old screenshots or using stock images. They're creating unique, helpful media that's really going to be helpful. I think that's going to play a big role in it, especially, and the best example I have of that, especially if it's high definition, Bob's Watches literally has a studio on site in Newport Beach at their office, a full room with cameras and like 360 cameras, and they take multiple pictures, then they send them off, and those pictures all get merged together in this really beautiful HD image, and it's worth it because all of their products rank on page 1.
Very good.
All right, and Norm, your mic again is still being staticky, so I'm going to mute you for a sec, and we'll jump into the next question. We just have a couple more left. Tony, should we change the file name of pictures that upload for extra SEO juice, like an alt tag?
If it's a picture that has not already been indexed by Google, right? Pictures in the geek world are binary, right? There's zeros and ones. And if those zeros and ones are already in Google's database through Shutterstock or Getty Images or who knows, and you're using that image and just giving it a different name, it's probably not going to be very helpful. But if you're creating your own image that's not already on the web, it's not already in an image database somewhere, and you save it as, keyword.jpg, yes, absolutely. In fact, I had a fun test I did. If you remember a site called Ask Jeeves, right, or ask.com, Ask is still around, but Jeeves is dead, right? They retired him. He was somewhere on a sunny beach somewhere, just dreaming about keywords and drinking a Mai Tai. And what was funny is they had Easter eggs, and one of the Easter eggs was, does Jeeves have an evil twin? And when you did that search, the interface would change, and he would be this devil evil twin brother. And so we did this little test and just started with some different things like the name. So I created my own version of that old devil image that disappeared from the web. And then I optimized it and didn't do anything on the page with titles, descriptions, or anything at first. I just named it does Jeeves have an evil twin.jpg, uploaded it to the site, and then within a couple of weeks, I saw my image in the search results. In fact, if you do a search in Google Images right now for does Jeeves have an evil twin, you might see my little logo show up, as an example of that. And so we did that, and then we also played with the metadata. We did some work where we just basically took the image, we right-clicked, we went to image information where it had title and description and keywords and author and publisher, owner, trademark, all that kind of stuff, copyright. We filled out all that information, re-uploaded it, and then did some queries for some of the words that we used in it. And at the time, this was years back, they actually crawled it. They actually crawled that information, and it did help to appear for some of the different queries that we ran in Google Images. Having an alt tag, of course, helps as well. Putting that image into your image sitemap, using schema.org/image object, capital I, capital O, so that Google knows explicitly that that's an image object and something that they can put in their database. Using a little bit of that thing with entities to tell the search engines when we're talking about ask, we're talking about wikipedia.org/ask_com or whatever it is. And then that image can now show up in Google image search results. We did a test with public storage years ago, and we rolled out image changes across the board. And we did a test first to see from 100, I think we did like 200 locations, where they appear in organic and where they appear in Google Images. We renamed them all. These are their images. We renamed them all based on self-storage dash, whatever the location was. I think we did the full address. And after the test, within about 2.5 weeks, we saw our location images showing up in Google Images where they hadn't been previously. And we saw a 20% lift in the organic results because now our page had more keyword-rich media. So I think the image name is a fantastic starting place, but there's so much more that you can do for image optimization to make that even more helpful to search engines and users.
Right. Well, I can tell you right now that you are number one for the Ask Jeeves. Does Jeeves have an evil twin?
I'm number one. I'm
number one. And what was the schema link? It was
the schema.org/image object, capital I, capital O, image object.
Okay, perfect. And Norm, let's see if you're good to go.
I don't know anymore.
No, it's
sounds like a buzzer.
Pretty...
Like I'm waiting for it to be like, okay, here's my answer. Oh, I'm wrong. Oh no.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I don't know what's happening. This is the first. Okay, so I think we've got a couple more questions that have come in. Steve, are you good for time still, or?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yep.
So this is from. Let's see who this is from. This is from Yanni. How many keywords or characters do you recommend putting in the meta tags?
Well, I use a preview tool. We have one on our website. This we call it like the ultimate Google snippet tool. And there's a bunch of them out there that you can play around with. Use those tools so that you make sure you don't go over the pixel limits of what's available in the title itself. Meta descriptions kind of controversial because I've seen 3-4 rows show up in search results sometimes. Other times, we see up to a specific fixed number of characters. In terms of how many keywords I put in there, I don't think it's as much about the keywords. I try to get my most important keyword into the title, and then I use a call to action and a value proposition to try to get them to click. The days of keyword, pipe symbol, keyword, pipe symbol, keyword, pipe symbol, brand, right, died in the 2000s, and I still see that garbage in the search results, and it's no wonder that they're not in the top 3. So be conversational. Voice search is real. It's happening. It's still slow, but it's happening. Be conversational and solve problems and use use cues that really help with the users trying to find. My example, title tag principles. I didn't put title tag principles, best page to learn about title tag principles. I did use these title tag principles to boost CTR and improve keyword rankings, because I know that it's things, not strings, and that they're not really interested in title tags. They're really interested in boosting their keyword rankings or their SEO and their CTR, right? Their click-through rates. So figure out what the user intent is, get your keyword in there, and solve for that user intent. And you want a trick? Go to your reviews and look what people are saying and aggregate all of the reviews and come up with some themes. What are the top 3 things that customers are saying about your product or service that you can use in your title or description? The description isn't even get used by search engines from a keyword standpoint. The user might see what they're looking for bolded in there, but the Google's made it very clear that we don't use keywords and meta descriptions as a ranking signal, which is a great opportunity for you to summarize your page while also including what those key call to actions are. For ecom, a lot of times free shipping both ways worked really well for Skechers. There's cool things that you could do, like you could put a promo code in, right, and say use promo code whatever, and then they get to the page and like it's not on the page, right, and but it's there just in an image or embedded somewhere. But it gives them something to go back. They click, they want that promo code. Anything that you can do to give them an incentive. Again, figuring out what they need. How can we get you to buy this product? And you ask 1,000 of your customers, and 500 of them come back with a common theme. Throw that theme into that meta description, because that's something that is focused around what your customers want and less about trying to optimize for a keyword.
All right, awesome. All right, Norm, did you change anything?
I hope.
All right, I think we're good.
There we go. Good.
Yay.
All right, so for our very last question, then we'll go to the Wheel of Kelsey from Tony. For new blogs, should we have an outside link to an authority site?
For new blogs, can you have an outside link? Like, can you link out from your blog post to an authority site?
I think so.
I think from your upper funnel pages, absolutely. In fact, that was probably one of the elements that we didn't mention in our ideal page outline for an upper funnel, is if you can link to real data sources to cite your comments. So if you're a medical site, and the best example I have of this is Healthline. If you do a search for like Healthline keto, and you look at one of their keto pages, what you'll see is internal links using text to other pages and external links using bookmark type links, where it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. So you're not giving away keyword votes to external websites. Instead, you're using just numbers to link out to authoritative websites to show that it's proof. So we've seen tests where we added 2.edu and 1.gov link to an upper funnel page, pointing out to those 2 edus and 1.gov, and we actually saw the page move up. I mean, the whole reason Google has a spider is to crawl the web, right? Why create a spider trap where they can't really leave, right? And continue to crawl the web. That's the whole nature of the web, is a web. And if you break the web by not having external links, how's that going to be helpful? So I think it's a great idea to help with expertise or authority trust signals, as well as to keep the web, and a great way to provide additional resources for your visitors, and know that you're not just putting fluff out there.
Okay, I think that's it. Kels?
Thanks again. This has been fun. Thanks for letting me just yammer on and on about content.
I love it. I love it. You know, learn a ton. Well, I've got a question about, you mentioned something about the Google something gallery. I've never heard of that before. Can you tell me what
The
that,
Google
that
Rich Results Gallery. It's
Google
where they
Rich Results
Mhm.
Gallery?
It's where they give you all the different ways that hey, my Google's talking to me. No, Google, I'm good, thank you. So
I
uh,
Alexis.
right. So yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I think there's well, we're talking. I got distracted by my Google over here. What was the question again, Norm?
It was about the Google Rich
Oh
something
yeah, the rich
gallery.
results. So rich results are amazing because there's so many cool things that you can test. There's speakable, right? There's a speakable markup that you can use, where it reads the page. There are FAQ page where you can put, FAQs into the search results. Events. So for every like IHOP event that happened, we tried to get every single location page to have the event link and the date of when it happens, and just a quick name for that event in the search results. We have blue link, black text, and then event. And it was really cool. So I would say explore those different rich result gallery ideas to see what might be appropriate for your brand. You don't need all of them. I know aggressive digital marketers like do everything. I'm like, no, just test the ones that you think are going to be the most helpful for your users. Because if Google shows the opposite, another one that you're using in that gallery, and the other would have done better, then you're just overshooting the mark. So pick one or two and throw them out there, whether it's the FAQ, whether it is using any new thing that they introduce into that gallery. Use visual ping, visual ping, a free tool that you can use up to 5, I think, and monitor that page so that when they do add more examples to that gallery, you'll be the first to know about it. But it's a lot of fun to explore and play with, and it makes your results really stand out. And if you stand out and they click on you more often and they stay on your page because you care about privacy, accessibility, page speed, and conversion rate optimization, right? We all do. Then Google long term is going to look at that page as being the most helpful, and our rankings will be sustained.
Fantastic. Okay, that's it. You are off the hook, my friend. So I guess the next time I'll be seeing you, your beard will be almost as long.
We'll see if I'm lucky.
Yeah, there we go.
You've really got that sexy beard going on, Norman.
There we go.
I gotta get there. My wife is just like, yeah, it's getting there, but it's not Norm's yet. I'm like, I gotta give it some time. But
You'll get there. You'll get there.
Mhm.
So thank you. And if anybody wants to get in touch with you or the company or take any courses, how do they do that?
The easiest to find is just SEO Steve everywhere. You can talk to anyone in my small group of 10 over here by going to any social profile with Wiideman, Wiideman. We do have that academyofsearch.com, and we do have that promo code if you want to, take that $600 course for free. Just use SEO Steve, one word, SEOSTEVE, and you can get free access and save yourself $600, roughly based on some of the courses I teach at universities like Cal State Fullerton and UC San Diego. So enjoy.
Oh, that's awesome. So there's a freebie from Steve. That's just another reason why he's so awesome. So,
Yeah.
Everything that you've heard today, if you want to learn even more, take the Academy of SEO. So
Academy of
$600 saving is zero, free. You can't get better than that. Okay. I think it's that time. Oh, no, we got one more sponsor. Then we'll head over to the wheel. Kelsey.
All right, just give me 1 second.
Anytime.
Yeah.
This is why you're worth what you're paid. I want to give a quick shout out to an incredible group of sponsors who help keep our podcast running. The Lunch with Norm podcast wouldn't be possible without the support of the following sponsors: Post Purchase Pro, Clear Ads, Goldstein Patent Law, Honu Worldwide, Netfluence.co, Video Telepathy, Startup Club, and Dragonfish Brand Management. I just want to let our sponsors know you're awesome. Now let's get back to the show. Okay, there we go. Now it's that time.
All right, and Steve, if you have to get going for your meeting at all, just let us know, and you're good to go. You can head out. But if you're able to stick around, then that'd be great.
I can hang for a second.
Okay.
All right. Here's the Wheel of Kelsey.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for entering today's Wheel of Kelsey. I'm going to shuffle up these names. We've got a ton of entries today, and let's see who today's winner is.
Did you add us?
I did not. I
Thanks.
did not this time. And it looks like it's
Oh,
Marsha.
Marsha. All right.
Congratulations, Marsha. Again, reach out to us at k@lunchwithnorm.com to get your prize, and you'll be all set.
Amazing.
Steve, thanks again. Hopefully you can come back soon and talk more SEO.
Anytime, Norman. I'm your backup. So if anyone ever gets in a whatever and can't make it, please call me and we can talk search and content and e-com all you want to.
Perfect. All right. I know you got to go. So thank you again for coming on. You were awesome as usual.
Thanks as always. Have a great one.
See ya.
Lunch with Norm.